Basically, what I wanted to discuss is in NFV, in Mano specifically, there are multiple what we call management and orchestration domains. And what should be the best way that those domains should communicate between each other. Google has kind of ruined my surprise the other day when already speaking about what they call and I call the intent-driven orchestration. Probably they're reading my presentations on Google Drive. Let's do a little bit of a role playing. Okay, so imagine that you are a parks manager. Okay, you have a nice park with a nice lake, some trees, and you think something might be actually missing, right? You're missing a bench, something like that. So what are, as a park manager, what are my options to go ahead and place a bench over there? One option is the most, I guess, obvious one, which is to build it myself. So I can go ahead, if I have the right skills, enough time, if I have the tools, I can go to the market, buy all the materials that I need, I have all the variety in front of me, and I will go ahead and simply build it. Easy as that. If I need another one, I'll have to build another one, right? So that's what we call the do-it-yourself approach, okay? Another option that I have is that I know exactly what I want. I know exactly what bench, what are the dimensions, from what it should be made of, but I don't have either the time or the tools to do it in-house, so I just simply outsource it. I go with the plans, the exact plans, to someone that has all the knowledge and the expertise, and ask him to build one for me exactly upon my specific requests. And this is what I call the mold approach. Okay, I ask someone to build a mold, so the next time I want the same exact bench, I can go to the same person and tell him, remember the bench that you built me the other time? I want another one like that. Now I have another approach, which is not to ask for a specific work to be done for me, because this might be a little bit too expensive. And this is what I call the catalog-driven approach. So I go to someone that actually manufactures a set of predefined benches. Right? So I go to this place and I said, okay, I need a garden bench or outdoor bench or something. What is it that you have to offer me? And he says, look, I have here like 3 benches that might suit your needs. And I might have some specifications, right? I might need it to be waterproof, and I want up to 6 people to sit on the same time, and I want it to be low enough so that children can also sit. So I have some specific requirements, and I find that, let's say, that is the best fit for maybe the colors, it's not exactly what I wanted, and maybe it's made of wood, and I had in my mind something which is made of metal. But anyway, I'll have to make some compromises. And you see that whenever I let go of some of my requirements, I also lose some visibility, right? I lose some control. When I build it myself, I know exactly how I build it, how many coats of paints, how do I connect what joints do I use to connect the wood. I know everything. If something fails, I can perhaps fix it. Here, I'm starting to lose a little bit of the control, right? I don't know exactly how this is made, what are the materials, what happens when it breaks. And here is the fourth approach. And this is what we call the intent-driven. Okay, I don't even know that I need a bench. All I know is that I want my park visitors to be able to sit down comfortably in front of the maybe lake and get some rest, enjoy the scenery, and I express this need to someone, and he comes up with, hey, what you actually will eventually need is this bench with those dimensions and this color placed like this on those locations and so on. So I think you're starting to get the point. So let's do another role playing. And this time, imagine that you are a network manager. And something is missing also here, right? A network. I want to connect those two VNFs. Right? I'm managing network services. I want to offer a virtual CPE with a couple of virtual network function added services, and I'm missing a network. Option one, I do it myself. This is how I would express the creation of the network by using a specific description. So that means I'm controlling the IP addresses, the ranges, the type, whether it's a layer 2, layer 4, the default gateways, the quality of service. I control everything. And I'm expressing that in my template. Right? So I have the full details here. Obviously, I need to know what I need. I need to know how to describe it to the underlying SDN provider. But I'm in control of all the details, and that is what allows me to leverage basically all the functionality that is offered by the underlying SDN. Because if it's exposed through API, it doesn't matter if it's the newest feature, the most bizarre feature, I can make use of it because I can just add it into my description. Obviously, that requires a lot of time, a lot of knowledge, understanding how the underlay or the SDN overlay is built and defined. But it has its benefits, and this is how, by the way, it's being done most of the time today. But I can create a mold. If I go to, this is, by the way, a Tosca syntax. If I go to this approach, okay, I know, again, exactly what I need. I need a specific type of network with specific characteristics. I ask the SDN guy to model it for me, to create a template within its SDN domain, okay, but according to my specific requirements. And whenever I need this specific network, I need to call out for a specific orderable item, which in this case would be, for example, this node type, which is ELAN. Okay, so I'm expressing the needs. Someone else does the work. He creates a template, and I only call it when I need it. Now, you might think, well, that's already a little bit far away. But if you think about same approach for VNF orchestration at NFVO level, okay, this is exactly what we're doing today. We are at the Tosca description. We're putting only the catalog item, the VNF catalog item that we want to instantiate, right? We don't know exactly how this VNF is built and constructed, and why that shouldn't be the same with SDN and networks. Third approach, the catalog, right? I know I need to connect those VNFs. I don't know exactly what I need in terms of IP addresses and stuff, but I have some requirements. Right, so that's another way of describing in Tosca this need. In this case, I'm just expressing a need for connectivity, okay, with a bunch of constraints. For example, I can have a performance constraints. I would like to have a maximum latency, minimum bandwidth guarantees, and I want to have additional properties like I want it to be IP version 6 and a layer 2 network. But other than that, I don't know exactly what would be eventually configured and implemented at the SDN layer. Maybe there are 4 templates which actually suits that need, those needs. Okay? That's a possibility. But you see, I'm just asking the SDN, what are your available templates that I can use, and then go and choose the one that fits my needs. And of course, the fourth approach, the optimal approach, the intent-driven orchestration, that would be probably those graphical designers, which are not kind of hard-coded to reflect current state into a current design, but rather when I do this freehand style drawing, actually things are being defined and created through this chain of abstraction at lower layers. So when I drag a component, I don't need even to specify whether this is a firewall of a specific type. I just drag a firewall, whether it will be from vendor A or B, I don't know. When I need a connectivity, same thing, I just drag a line. Okay? But someone needs to understand, there should be a brain that's been able to eventually understand whether, what kind of network do I need there, what kind of capabilities it needs, because that depends a lot on the VNFs that I drag, on the security requirements, and I think you can think of some other. So back a little bit to the virtual CPE, and what we have actually learned is that we need to be flexible enough, at least to allow the first two. Okay, the do-it-yourself approach, and also what we call the mold-driven, right? So we can point to a specific catalog item in lower domains. And I guess when you want to eventually achieve a specific functional view, like you see at the top, which is very human readable, right? There is a CPE, a couple of VNFs chained with a specific service forwarding path, connected to the internet. This is what I want to be able to achieve. And for us, there are actually two ways that you can describe it. One is the logical model, which kind of maps to the mold-driven approach, where you simply point out specific logical elements, catalog items that you need for delivering this functional view. And that also may be accompanied with what we call implementation model. Okay, so that's more kind of the do-it-yourself, which is still in many cases inevitable. Right? You have to describe that this virtual link maps eventually to a specific model on the SDN. In this case, it maps into what is known as a domain and a zone and a subnet. But this is very crucial because eventually it's all about whether this VNF that is part of the chain is a layer 2 device or a layer 3, whether those VNFs can reside on the same subnet or not, security, performance, all those considerations is something that you might eventually want to describe in an implementation model. And if you think about it, if you keep the logical model the same, and you just change the implementation model based on the underlying technology selection, you can keep the same abstraction while every time adapting to a different environment. So you can supply one service offering, if it's to an opcos or a regional specific region, while they can change the implementation description via the implementation model. Obviously, the end goal would be to go for this completely intent-driven orchestration where each layer is just expressing a need, and at the lower layer, someone should interpret that and understand what should be executed. And what we are, but before you go there, what we think you need to make sure is first that you have clear roles and responsibilities, and you know that what each orchestration and management domain is responsible for, and what aggregation it provides on one hand, what abstraction, and the interaction between those domains should be via catalog items. So avoid as much as possible those specific API calls, but rather than that, call for catalog items. And those catalog items should be kept to a minimum. Right? You don't want to have basically the mold approach in a kind of a catalog item. If you are the SDN owner, you should define about what should your network offering be. And this should be a limit number. Now, it doesn't mean that that would limit the number of possibilities that you have to create services from those networking templates. Just to maybe give you an example, Lego, right? If you take 6 2x4s, the very plain bricks, right? There are almost 1 billion possibilities to connect them together. The same 6 2x4s. Okay, so it doesn't matter, a limit number of offering doesn't mean that the number of possibilities to connect them are not finite. So with that in mind, keep tracking the full intent orchestration. That eventually, I think, what would the goal should be. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Asad.